Hey everyone, how's it going? This is George with FXCashBuilder, and in today's video, I'm going to go over the FXCashBuilder V5 template and the strategy you use behind it to trade the Forex market as well as binary options. A very quick note though before I begin, if you do trade binary options, please keep in mind if you do a 1 minute time chart, which is M1, you're wanting to look for at least a 5 minute expiration. If you're doing 5 minute, you want to go for 10 to 15 minutes roughly. And if you're doing 15, you always want to go roughly 45 minutes to an hour. Um, Other than that, again, whatever time frame you're on, you always want to do it at least 2 to 3 candlesticks past that. So for whatever time frame you're on, go 2 to 3 candlesticks behind that and set that for your expiration. But for the M1, it's always been proven that a 5 minute expiration is best. If you really don't want to use a 5 minute expiration, though, you can always do something smaller, but at least 3 minute, no less than that. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in here. As you all can tell, there are all these indicators are ones that you've seen on previous versions of FS Cash Builder. However, what my goal in this template was to create something so simple, so unique, that anybody could follow it, and the rules behind it are very, very simple. Okay. The first indicator that I want to go over with you is the signal executive bars, which is these right here in the top right hand corner. As you all know, it monitors M1 to H4 for the MACD, RSI, and EMAs without actually needing them on your chart. Okay, when you get a signal in, the more colors that are here, let's say for instance, if I get a buy signal here, the more green that this is, the better are for you to get into it. The more red they are on a sell signal, the better it is for you to get in on that marker there as well. Okay. Um, Aside from that, it's also the Heikin candlesticks. These you can change to whatever color, but I always use blue and red. The other indicator that you're all familiar with is the trend channel indicator, which is this maroon and aqua trend line. The other indicator y'all been familiar with since I believe roughly version 3 has been the SS2009C. And then the other indicator y'all been familiar with has been the Forex Indicator Pro arrows. And then aside from that, the other indicator y'all been familiar with is the auto stop loss take profit device. Which real quick, the number here represents the number of pips you're going after. So me, I scalp for 10 pips, but you can set this to any number you want. Anything from 1 to a million, whatever you want. On a 5 minute time chart, though, I recommend putting this value anywhere between 5 and 10, because on most setups and most currency pairs that you can trade, the 5 to 10 pip range is very attainable on most pairs in Forex. Okay, so now how you trade this is very simple. The only notification you're going to get on this particular template is that from the Forex Indicator Pro arrows. Okay, now the way to take these trades is very simple. You take the signals in direction of the trend and never against the trend at all. Okay, in addition to that, you want price action. For instance, if you get a buying alert, you want the price action to be below anywhere below the dotted line, and preferably coming up off the maroon and aqua trend lines as you see here, but anywhere within this range right here is where you would want price action to be when you get a green arrow. Okay, now in instances where you get a green arrow, say right here, and it alerts you to a buy, and price action is literally right here on the dotted line. If you want, since you are going in the up direction, you can take a buy. And what I would do though is I would simply place my take profit not that far up. So for instance, in cases like this, I would roughly, I mean, this is the pound JPY, so you definitely would have hit the 10 pips. But on most pairs, you might not get to that 10 pips. So basically, what I'm getting at is if you're doing the scalping, when you hit the buy button, the auto stop loss take profit device will automatically put your take profit at 10 pips. Okay, if that 10 pips, again, if that 10 pips happens to be like, say, this white line right here where price action currently is, and obviously that would be too far up. So what you would do is simply click on it and drag it down to somewhere in this area for your 10 prop level, because you know that's going to be more attainable than it trying to break all the way through the levels of resistance with the upper areas of the trend channel. So therefore, again, bring your take profit down in here somewhere. Okay. Now to also validate your signal. Again, if you get a buy signal, like here's a validation buy, and how you tell that is price action is below the dotted line, and you know, close to the lower areas of the trend channel, and your SS2009C here is blue. Okay, so this you would take a buy. Okay, now again, the way the system is set up, you can do a buy in one or two different ways. Okay, you can either do a buy and scalp it for 10 or however many pips you want. The second way is to place your buy and then hold the buy until you have a reversal arrow, which would have been, you know, right here. Okay, so for instance, you would have hit a buy here and exited out here. That had been 32.7 pips. Okay, depending on exactly when you would have gotten in with price action, roughly 30 plus pips. Okay, now what you do not do, even if the histogram down here matches up with the arrow, you do not take a trade in reverse of the trend channel. Okay, so in other words, if you get a sell signal here, um, first of all, price action is obviously below the dotted line, so therefore you wouldn't take this sell. And the other reason is because it didn't. You know, if you go like this, you're realizing it's not going to potentially move that far down. Okay, and again, you know, definitely don't take it in reverse the trend channel. Also, if you took it, you know, with the second option, with placing a sell and then taking out with the buy, this would have been the buy right here. So therefore, you would have exited out of the trade with a negative of 2.7 pips. So like I say, it's not worth it to do it. Simply just take the arrow in the direction of the trend, and what I, you know, like I said, what I do is scalp it. If you want to take it and then hold it in reverse with the arrow, that is fine too. That's totally, you know, your choice. Okay, but definitely what I would not do is take a trade in reverse of the trend channel. Okay, here's another point here that I'm making. In this case right here, since the candlestick would have been up above the center dotted line right here, if you got in, you know, somewhere within this area, here I would take a sell. You can take a sell since it is coming up out of what I call the belly of the beast. Now, if you do this, though, my recommendation is as long as the take profit level is somewhere, you know, within this area, you know, right here, then that's fine. But I definitely would keep it close to where the center dotted line is as much as possible. Okay. Now, the one thing I would not recommend, if you took a sell here and then do your buy there, you know, to get out for the buy signal, that only puts you in profit. If you took out literally right here, that only give you a profit of 2.4 pips. But you see all these candles, that would have been several hours you've been waiting for that reversal signal, and therefore you would have gotten very little pippage for your time. It's not a lot of money for your efforts. So therefore, that's why I say if you're going to use the system, I highly recommend using it simply as a scalping system. But if you do it, you know, signal to signal, only trade in the direction of the trend channel. Okay. Now here's a very unique scenario, and I'm going to explain how you can work a scenario like this setup right here. Okay. How you work this right here is, let's say you get your buy in right here. Okay, you can go ahead and place a buy and either scalp it for 10 pips or do it from signal to signal. Okay, now what I mean by that is this. Okay, let's say you do option number 2, signal to signal. Okay, let's say you get your buy here and then boom, you got your sell here. Okay, so you took in your buy right here and then your sell comes in for right here. That's negative 2.5 pips. Okay, so if you're like, oh, well, I'll just exit out and then place my sell. Well, why would you place a sell when the price action is still in the lower area, literally, of the trend channel? It's got nowhere to go. So instead, what you do is hold it, and you can come back and check on it in say 5 or 10 minutes and see how things are going, or even 15 or 20, see how things are going. But again, when this isn't already fluctuating to go, you know, to continue into a downward trend, I would leave it alone as is, and you know, give it a little bit of time, and then boom, what happens? You get another pop. Now in this case, you could hold it What I mean by hold it is, just hold that one trade and then let it ride to get to your 10 pips, or whatever pippage that you set, or you could continue to hold it until the next red arrow, which would have been right here, and take your profit for 25.7 pips. Okay, if you do, your take profit of 10 pips or 20 pips, whatever, then you've still been good. You would have route up, hit your take profit, and you would have been done. Okay, now the other option you could do too is if you get into the buy here and then this comes out and you hold the first buy, then what would happen is, um, you then when you get the second buying signal here, if you still have that first buy signal open and you get the second one, you could either just let the first one ride out and hit your take profit or the reversal signal, or you could go ahead and open up a second buy, and therefore you have two of them that are going to be hitting 10 pips or 20 pips again, whatever you set it to. But you'll both have them hit the take profit, or you can have them both riding it out until you hit the reversal signal and then close it out at that point. Okay. Now, for sells, it's pretty much the same thing. You want to take your sell signal in the direction of the trend channel. So this right here would have been very valid signal. Your price action is coming down off of the upper trend channel area. You are in a downward trend with the trend channel, and you have a red SS2009C histogram. So again, you can do the one of two things. You can hold it for 10 pips or 20 pips, whatever you want to do, depending on the currency pair, and then you would have been in profit. You close out your trade, and then you wait for the next signal to pop. Okay, or again, you could wait and close it out on the reversal signal that you get in this particular setup, and that would have been 41.6 pips. Okay. Now, if you're asking, well, George, what if I get something like this where price action's coming like this, and but the trend channel is going into a downward position? Not a problem. A lot of times, what's going to happen, if you've used any of my versions in the past and you followed how price action works with the trend channel, then you already know that a lot of times when the price action, when you have what we call the horseshoe effect, which is this right here, then a lot of times what happens is the horseshoe, um, price action will come down like this, hit this, bounce up here, and touch somewhere up in this area right here, and then come down into the downtrend. Okay, so to answer your question, again, following my rules, if price action is underneath the dotted line right in this area and you get a buy signal, um, what I highly recommend, since this is technically in a downward trend, only scalp it for the 10 pips. Okay, even if you have the auto take profit off, so you can trade signal to signal on this template, what you can do is when you place your buy, then click on the buy and then move that up to where you get 10 pips, and it'll tell you over in this area right here how many pips you're going to profit off of. Okay, so I can move my line up until I got 10 pips and see where that hit me, and let's say it hit me right here. Like, okay, well, that's good, but I am in a downtrend, so let's move it down, a little bit further, and then, boom, let go of it and let it take it out. Okay. Another thing you can do is set a trailing stop, although I really don't like them. If you want to do any kind of stops, what I recommend is doing what I call in previous videos in the past a stop loss take profit. And what that is let's say I place my buy here, I would click on that entry line, drag it down anywhere down past the asking line, and let go. It would enable what's called a stop loss line. Then I click that stop loss line and move it up past my asking price line, and then let go of it again. At that point, it's still considered a stop loss, but it's a take profit stop loss. Meaning, in price action, if I did it, if I took the buy here and let it ride out, and I only had, let's say, it's climbing and climbing, and I put it right here, and then some came up, my family needed me, or I had to use the restroom, or any million things that could come up. Then if I left it right here, then what would happen? It would continue to rise, but then when it started falling, as soon as one of these candlesticks came down and touched my take profit level, it would cancel my trade out in profit, so that way I'm not losing any money. So again, going back to what I was saying, what I would recommend doing, if you want to trade from signal to signal, at some point start enabling a take profit stop loss. And so again, for instance, let's say it gets right here and I enable my take profit stop loss right here to protect my investment. Um, okay, then let's say this candlestick came down and touched it, it would cancel out my trade, but it would cancel it out in profit. Okay. So that's pretty much this, this template and how it works. I'll go ahead and open up just a couple more currency pairs right quick for you guys, and that way you can see a little bit more of what I'm referring to, and so you know that how it can look on multiple, um, you know, areas and stuff. Okay. So again, right here, like this would have been a perfect buy. Price action's right in here, so I would take it in the price action, and I could scout that for either 10 pips, 20 pips, whatever, or I could ride it, from here to the next signal, and that would have been almost 40 pips. That's 38.7 or so pips. This right here would have been invalid because why? Because the currency is right here in the lower area of the trend channel, and I'm in an upward trend with the trend channel, so this would be invalid buy. Okay, now if you have a question like George, well, I see there's a buy right here, and I get into my buy, but then this comes up. Okay, if this comes up, as long as the trend channel stays in its method, which looking like this, it is, you don't have to worry about this arrow. Then you could do one of a couple of things. One, you could go ahead and immediately close it out for a profit. Hopefully, you get in time and close it out for a profit. Or you could just let it continue to rise, since you know the price action can go anywhere because it's already in the lower area of the trend channel, and then just let it ride until it hits your take profit level. Okay, and that's again, just like I mentioned off the pound yen, it's the same thing on any currency. And basically, like I said, all I'm doing is really just showing you the setups. Okay. Here, as I mentioned before, if you were able to get in like right in here, since this is coming up off the lower areas of the trend channel, you can. I wouldn't trade this from signal to signal, even though that was like this, but it won't always be. Again, what I would do is as soon as you enter it, pay to take profit like somewhere down in here, and then that way you're a lot more assured that it's going to hit that, versus if you try to pay to take profit like way down here. Okay. On this setup too, since you're coming from the horseshoe into an uptrend, if you want to trade from signal to signal, you could do that, or you could just trade it to hit your take profit level. Okay. Here's a couple of good examples of what I've been referring to, as well. It's, if you can see here, this is a perfect example why I do not at all suggest trading against the trend. Um, because again, you have no idea where currency is going to go. Okay, now on some other pairs, for instance, when you get these setups right here, and some other pairs, currency could have gone all the way up here to the top and then fallen down. But as you see here, it only moved up what, two little bars. Here it only moved up three little bars, and then it crashed back down. So this is why I say, as much as you might think that currency will move in that direction for a long time, or even 20-30 minutes, whatever the case is, do not trade against the trend. That is your worst enemy when it comes to forex, or even comes to binary options, is trading against the trend. Okay, I mean, I can't stress that enough, ladies and gentlemen, on how that is your worst enemy whatsoever. Okay, but here again, this right here would work in a couple of different ways. One, you could enter in and do your take profit. Now let's say, for instance, this one right here didn't get into, didn't hit your 10 pips until this next error came. That's fine. You can let your current open trade on this one keep riding until hit your 10 pips. You could also go ahead and open up a second sell on here, because you're still going into a downward market, and you could get into another 10 pips, and then you could do a third one here and go in, and they're all going to close in profit. Okay, because you're going in direction of the trend channel. Okay, that's the biggest thing. Remember that. Take the trade in direction of the trend channel of those arrows once they pop. Don't go off the color of the Heikin-Ashi candle. Do not do that, okay? This is just how to visualize more about where price action is going and how it's moving, but not giving you an alert, okay? So again, that's one way you could do like a setup like this, is open up each one, whether they've already closed it or not, and you know that each one is going to close and profit for you. The other way you can do it is as I have been mentioning, you could open up this one, close it on the reverse of this one. You can open up this one, close on the reverse of this one, and so on and so forth. And you see how some of them got, a little bit less than the last draw, and that's fine because why, you're still in profit, you're still making money. Okay. Um, and again, that's fine. And I'm gonna go ahead and open up a couple more, and you see this right here, like this is something you don't have to be worried about, because this right here would have been a valid setup. The trend chart is going into a downward direction. You have your sell arrow here. I would have gone into it, and again, you can wait until you get a pop, next pop up. You could do a stop loss take profit, or you could just do a simple, scalping strategy, however you want to do it. Okay. I'm going to open up just two more charts, and that way we can go over these real quick, and then I'm going to talk to you about, the binary options method using this template. Okay. Okay. Now, here, this is as I was saying before, that I would not, trade against the trend channel. Even though you just seen this kind of morph into a downward position a little bit more, and most of the candles are in the red. Like I say, you're not, you're looking. This is helping you to know when that arrow pops. This is kind of helping you to know, okay, well, most of the time frames or most of these bars are red, so yeah, that's a nice good signal. But that's not to say, okay, just because this is 78% probability of a downtrend, to go ahead and take it if you're, even if your trend channel is looking in an upward position. Okay. But in a case like this, like I said, you could take this sell since it is up above, the dotted line. I would just go, place a take profit, somewhere right here in this area, just shortly past the center dotted line. Okay, and definitely watch it out. Check back on it 10, 20 minutes and see how price action is going. But again, if you're like me, as long as this is going up, then that's what you're going to wait for. You're going to wait for that buying arrow. Okay. Now here would have been a nice buying arrow. The price action is below the center dotted line. I could have easily have either scalped this, got my 10 pips, or I can simply do it signal to signal. Here, this is again, this is pretty much like the belly of the beast. Price action is above, so I could have entered in here and did it one of the two ways, and still made my money. Okay. So again, it's all about getting these arrows when they're pretty close to the upper or lower areas of the trend channel, trading them like that, and getting into it. Now in the setup, like, I'm sorry guys, I keep forgetting to click that scrolling feature. In a setup like this, it just goes back to what I was saying earlier. Price action is up above the center dotted line. It's going to be following a good ways, and you can either trade it signal to signal. If you got the time for that, that is. If you don't, I would just simply do the scalping, and that's it. But again, either way you do it, you can trade it, scalp or signal to signal. In a downtrend, like I said, even though the price action was a little bit below the center dotted line, I just wouldn't do it. There's no way of knowing until price action moves that it will go the way you might think it will go. So therefore, invalid signal, boom, you got your sell signal. You can trade it either way you want to. Me, like I say, like I keep telling you, I do it scalping wise, but that's pretty much it. This right here, invalid signal, and then this here, I could do it again one or two ways, and then here, again one or two ways, and be totally cool with it. Okay. So I hope that helps you guys out. Like I said, if you take it the signals in direction of the trend channel when they're really close to either the upper or lower areas of the trend channel, depending on price action, or again buys as long as they're within this area, or sells as long as they're within this area, then you're gonna be pretty good to go as far as that goes. Okay. Now let's go back over these real quick, but to talk to you a little bit about how to do it for binary options. Okay. Now with binary options, I would definitely only do it in direction of the trend channel. As you see here, this is the 1 minute time chart. It's saying a positive, potentialness of 78%. So with you seeing this right here, you got this signal in, even though it did go down nicely for 3 bars for quite a way. If you did it for 5 though, look, this is the 5th candlestick, and you would have lost that option. Plus, the other reason why you would have lost it because you went against the trend. You see what I'm saying? You went against the trend, so therefore that's why you lost that. Okay, here whether you did 3 bars, again 1 minute time stick, whether you did 3 bars, which would be 3 minutes, or you did 5 bars. Wait a minute. One, two, three. Okay, no. One, two, three, four. Oh, that's right. I forgot. You really don't count the first bar. Anyway, with this, that's 5 bars. You've been well in the profit. You would have won that binary options trade. Okay. Here, this is the last leg of the. Thank you. This is the last leg of the trend channel for the downward trend. So I would have taken this one. You could do 5 minutes, or if you're in the last leg of it, you might only want to do 3 minutes. But either way, you would have won this trade too. Sometimes when price action, and again going back to no system is 100% perfect, especially in regards to binary options, is you place the trade here. This right here would have been 5. So if you got in right at the opening of the candle, you would have been fine there. This I wouldn't take because obviously it's below this. Here I could take it because it is below the center dotted line. This symbol here is invalid. I wouldn't take that. For an uptrend, I would take this one, 5, and boom, you got it. Let's see here. Oh, shoot. Okay, there we go. Okay, now this one, again, this one just popped, literally a few minutes ago. Again, this is why you don't trade against the trend because there was one red arrow, and then boom, the very next candlestick it popped. Like that. Um, in this particular case, you could if you wanted to take this into a buying position for binary options, I would recommend, like I said, only 3 candles, not really 5, but that's up to you. Here you could do 3 to 5 and win it. Here, it's like I say, with in some cases like this, that's one thing. Because if you take it right here, would have been 5. It would have been real iffy. If you are looking at it, you go back to it and say, well, how did I miss that? And you see this coming up, then if you want to, just wait until you get a couple of, think here, a couple of red Hakinashi sticks, and then just simply place another sell, and then let it come down and hit your take profit. Okay. Here, I wouldn't do this at all, even though you could have won it on like a 3 minute expiration. I wouldn't do this though, because of those reasons. Here, it is below this, but since you are going into a downtrend, you could take a shot at it. But I only would do, roughly, 3 to 5 minutes or so. The longer you can do it on a position like this, though, you'll be better off. Um, Here, 3 to 5, you would have won that. Okay. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, since this video is roughly almost 30 minutes long, I'm going to go ahead and jump off here. If you have any questions about how to use the strategy, just post them in the group and I will get back to you ASAP, or another member who has an answer can also reply to you as well. Take care and happy trading.